Okay, let's talk about something that I'm sure you have heard somewhere on the internet, probably TikTok, maybe here on YouTube, maybe Instagram, the concept of bed rotting. This is a term that I'm sure we've all joked about. I know for myself, I have joked about bed rotting all day Saturday, or just going on my phone, doom scrolling, and just existing. But what if we actually looked at bed rotting and we sort of flipped it on its head and made it intentional rest? A lot of times we are leaning into bed rot because we are overwhelmed, we are burnt out, we feel like we are out of control. There's so many things happening in this world. It's 2025. So much has already happened in the past 3 weeks that have elapsed this year. And a lot of us are looking for an escape, and so we turn to our bed and we rot. But that is not going to help us. That is not going to make this year a productive year. It's also just not going to help you get the rest that you need, that you think you're getting by bed rotting. But by changing the concept of bed rotting to intentional rest, you're going to be able to recharge that battery, heal from burnout. As someone who has been burnt out more than once, I promise you will be able to heal from burnout and start to feel a little bit more excited for life, a little less overwhelmed, and more rested and ready to take on the day as it comes. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Ofori-Attah. If you are new here, I am so excited to have you. If you are coming back and you have been a part of the community, thank you so much. You know these chats, you know these type of videos. These are my motivational chats that I share a lot of things I have learned by usually doing the wrong way and learning and reframing and growing and sharing with you so that we can all as a community level ourselves up, reach our goals, become the person that we want to be. And that is why I'm talking about bed rotting. I am someone who has enjoyed a bed rot for more than 1 day or 2 days. And definitely before this term was even a thing, I think back on the last 10, 15 years of my life, and I have bed rotted. I have been the person who has just zoned out, laid on the couch, watched Netflix. Pre-Netflix, I would watch the DVD of Friends season after season I had, maybe TLC, anything that was on TLC. So I know all about bed rotting, but I want us to look at this, unpack it, and reframe it in a way that will actually benefit us, because I'm going to be honest with you, bed rotting is not beneficial, especially if you are trying to rest, you're trying to recover, if your nervous system feels overwhelmed, if you just feel overwhelmed because of the world that we live in, bed rotting is not your answer. Intentional rest is your answer. So what really is bed rotting? The basic place to start is either your bed, your couch, you're horizontal, you're just existing, but you're escaping sort of everything. You're not thinking about your responsibilities, you are avoidant, you're maybe not even replying to texts, but likely you are on your phone. You're probably scrolling on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, just aimlessly filling yourself with something mindless, and oftentimes numbing, because you feel so overwhelmed and so exhausted that you can't imagine being productive. You can't reply to those texts, even to the people that you love the most. I have been there and I know exactly how it feels, and that's why once you understand when you're in this habit and this cycle of bed rotting, you're going to be able to not only address it, but also overcome it and make it something that will actually benefit you. I'm not saying enjoying Netflix or scrolling on your phone or even setting boundaries for when you reply to text is a bad thing. It's about when you find yourself in this avoidant behavior, lying in bed, lying on your couch, and just removing yourself from all of your responsibilities, all the things that you normally are engaged in, and you oftentimes end up feeling worse after doing this. That is the biggest thing about bed rotting, is after a day, even a couple of hours, maybe Friday night, you don't feel better. You feel worse. You feel like you're not doing enough. You start a comparison cycle. You feel even more overwhelmed at those text messages that you haven't replied to, maybe the emails you haven't dealt with. Whatever it is you don't end up feeling better after what you thought was this sort of mindless rest, because it wasn't really rest. It was not about regenerating your energy, giving your body, your mind, or your soul what it needs. It really is depleting you and taking even more away from you. So the question is, why does bed rotting feel so unsatisfying? You think going into this, oh, I'm gonna have an evening, I'm just gonna lie on my phone, I'm gonna be on TikTok for a few hours. Suddenly it's 1 in the morning, you feel worse, you haven't eaten properly, you have not spoken to anyone, whether that is verbally in your roommate situation, your partnership, or by text, again, those texts that you're probably avoiding, and you feel worse than when you decided to lie down and bed rot. The concept of bed rotting is this idea of mindless rest, but that mindless rest is actually numbing ourselves and creating escapism. That is not going to replenish your energy. We want to avoid falling into this cycle of feeling overwhelmed, of feeling burdened, of feeling burnt out by actually giving our body what we need. So we have to pay attention to what our body needs and actually ask ourselves, what do I need right now? Is it rest? Is it sleep? Should I be going to bed earlier, like at 10 p.m. instead of being up on TikTok till 1 in the morning? And I'm not saying you need to take every opportunity of a restful period of some downtime and make it productive. Not at all. Productivity isn't the key here. It is actually about intentional rest and listening to your body. So it's slowing down, realizing when you're getting to these avoidant habits and asking yourself, what does my body need? Do I actually need to go for a walk? Maybe I need to do some movement, like just stretches. Or I actually need silence. I feel overwhelmed and overstimulated that I can't be listening to more things or just to be rather than to distract and avoid from whatever you're feeling. So right about now, you're probably going to ask me, how do I reframe rest? How do we reframe bed rot? And you're probably thinking, this already feels like too much work. If you were trying to bed rot because you're exhausted, you don't want to do any more work. And I'm going to give you some very, very easy ways to reframe rest, to be intentional rest, that will actually take away this paradox of choice where you feel so overwhelmed with what to do, so you end up doing nothing and bed rotting. What I want you to do on a good day, when you're feeling better, maybe a morning that you have a bit more energy, maybe you take yourself to a coffee shop, have a little morning date, or sit in your back patio, whatever it may be, something that feels peaceful for you, and sit down with either a notepad or the Notes app on your phone and identify things you can do for your mind, your body, and your soul. So this will help you when you are feeling burnt out, when you are not feeling up to doing anything, when you are finding yourself procrastinating, you are avoidant, you go back to this list. So you want to break down, what does my mind need when I'm feeling burnt out? Sometimes that is an escape, that is a distraction, but scrolling on TikTok is not the right escape or distraction. A lot of times it really is something like meditation, maybe even reading or a hobby. So then you want to really break down things that you enjoy, that you know bring you joy when you are able to spend time on them. You want to do the same thing for your body. So let's say that you have had such a long day, you're feeling burnt out, your body is depleted, you're exhausted. I've been there, I know the feeling, especially dealing with chronic migraines or any chronic pain. You want to think about, what does my body actually need in this moment in time? Oftentimes, it's not necessarily just being horizontal. Sometimes, yes, you do need to do that, but as you're starting to feel better, as you're trying to build your energy, you need to start moving your body again. So this may be going for a walk, doing your morning stretches or evening stretches, trying a new Pilates video on YouTube, doing something that is low lift and easy, that is truly for your body. So identify what those things are for you that you know you always feel better after doing. So the next time you know you need to do something for your body by investing in yourself, you can just go to this list and check it off. The same thing applies to your soul. Are you feeling depressed? Are you feeling anxious? Do you feel confused at life, at the world we live in? Do you feel overwhelmed by what's happening in the world, the natural disasters, people living through such difficult times? I know I feel that weight often, and I can find myself going into a cycle that feels very negative when I focus on that. And so when I look at what I can be doing for my soul, sometimes that is something as simple as meditation, reconnecting with my body, letting go of that stress. Other times it is helping someone else, as simple as carrying someone's groceries out from the store, or maybe buying someone a coffee as a kind gesture. Paying things forward in the smallest ways can really help you feel better. It could even be cooking dinner for a friend who's going through a hard time. Sometimes thinking outside of ourselves really helps our soul and helps us not feel so depressed at what's going on, or so insular that what we're feeling is so different than what everyone else is feeling. And it reminds us that community and being together really is what matters. When you've been able to identify these 3 categories and a couple things in each, this is when you want to go back to these lists when you find yourself falling into bed rot, falling into bed literally and not wanting to get out. What are you going to do for your mind? What are you going to do for your body and your soul that is going to give you intentional rest, that you are going to get energy from, but you're not going to be exerting a lot of energy and you're not going to be productive? It's not about, I should be cleaning the kitchen, I should be organizing my closet rather than laying in bed. No, a lot of times it is about enjoying life. We forget that these small moments, these half hour before bed, an hour after work, these moments should be for enjoyment, not for avoidance and escapism. And this is where it becomes the hardest part, is resting without feeling the guilt. I struggle with this so much. Even the past couple of weeks, I've been going through a lot of migraines. I've had more migraines than I've had in the past, I would say 4 or 5 months. And I have to rest more. But oftentimes that resting falls into bed rotting because I don't have the energy to get up and do anything. My head doesn't feel good. I feel dizzy. Everything affects me. Even looking at these lights right now while recording affects me in my head. But I go back to myself and I remind myself, resting is guilt-free. Resting is recharging your battery, which you need to do. If you want to make it in the most simplest terms, you have a Tesla, you have an electric car. You can't drive forever on that battery. You need to stop and charge your battery. And that is exactly what you need to do for yourself. You need to look at your rest as an investment in yourself, taking care of your body, taking care of your mind and your soul, protecting your energy, putting boundaries around, but also not falling into the cycle and the trap of escapism and avoidance, of procrastination that will make you feel more guilty and more negative at the end of the day. When you look at rest, and maybe you are in a resting phase right now, the winter is the perfect time for a resting period. I know for January, that has been one of my intentions, is to rest more and to feel less guilt around it. I have to talk to myself, and I often talk to myself in third person. I will say to myself, Mary, you need to rest. This is exactly what your body needs today. You do not need to check off your to-do list. You don't need to perform. You don't need to do. You don't need to be anything other than giving your body exactly what it needs, which is rest. Reading a book for 2 hours is not a bad thing. Picking up knitting or doing a puzzle is not a bad thing. Going for a long walk and sitting in the sun and just existing in the sunshine, getting vitamin D, being outside in nature is not a bad thing. Sometimes you need to remind yourself, and maybe this is where a mantra comes in, or you talk to yourself in third person like me, but you do need to remind yourself that rest is not guilty, and intentional rest is taking care of yourself, and truly it is loving yourself. Rest isn't just about doing nothing, it is about feeling whole again. So whether that rest is truly laying horizontal, taking it easy, or maybe it is doing some movement, going for a walk, working out, just stretching, just moving your body. Maybe it's reading, it's picking up a new hobby. It's not being productive in a way of focusing on your output, but it's about resting your body, your mind, and your soul and giving it what it needs in that moment so that when you need to show up for your responsibilities and you want to do more in life, you can do that. I know for me, some things that I love to do for rest are reading, knitting. I am a grandma, so I do love knitting. Watching a cozy comfort show, not just binging a new series that I'm not paying attention to while scrolling on my phone, but a cozy comfort show like Friends from College. I also love to make sure that I'm going for walks. I am moving my body. I'm actually going to do some stretches right after filming this because my body needs to move to get the blood flowing, especially with having migraines. Stretches is one of the best things I can do for my body, and I oftentimes don't want to do. But I have that list in my phone where I go back and I remember what is good for me, what type of rest I need, what type of energy I need to give my body to feel whole again and to feel better and more like myself. I would love to know what your favorite type of rest is, how you are leaning into rest this season, and how you're going to reframe rest from not being bed rotting, but also not trying to make every moment of your life productive. We are in this together, and it is the ebbs and flows of life. But I promise you, when you become intentional with your rest, you are going to see the return on that investment. If you enjoyed this, definitely subscribe for more motivational chats. You can find a lot more of my previous ones. a lot about discipline and structure, and especially if you deal with chronic pain, I touch on that in almost every motivational chat video, and I will see all of you on the next one.